Hello, welcome. I'm the Flying Panda. I'm an animator in the industry, kinda somewhat maybe. If you ever thought about animating, you might have come across certain things like cloth, hair, fire. You kinda have to animate straight ahead and it's really physics-based and it's really complicated. And you're like, how do I go about this? This idea I'm gonna go through, the wave principle, is really useful. You can use it in all of those things and more. I'm going to go through exactly what is the wave principle, how we can animate it, and I have two ways to animate it. The first is a really common way, and the second way is how I like to think about it. Finally, we're going to go through a couple animations that I've made, people better than me have made, and how they've used the wave principle. Okay, we're going to jump straight into it. What is the wave principle? Very simply, I like to think of it as a force moving through a subject and then changing its shape into a wavy looking shape. If we think of a literal wave, water, and then if there's someone moving through underwater, it'll make a little bump and you have a wave. And so the person under the water is the force and then the water is the subject. And so again, we have force and then we have subject or person or whatever. We can apply this to all sorts of things. For example, if we have a flag, right? What's the force? Well, the wind, and it's changing the shape of the flag. We have some wind, and it's changing the subject. If it's a whip, right? If we have like a whip, the force isn't actually an external thing. It might be the momentum of the whip traveling down through the line and then causing the shape of the subject to change. So the force might not actually be external, but we'll get into that later. Let's go through how to actually animate it. And I'm going to show you again a common way. And this is something that a lot of animators do and probably what you learn in animation school. This is the wave. We have a very simple wave. And so the way you can animate it is first sectioning it off, and then you would animate two circles. And this is making the usually very invisible force very visible. You can think of it as wind, fire, or whatever you want, and then you just make the balls move across the screen. And after that, what you would do, you would make sure that peak where the circle is, right? And then trough on the other side of the circle. This is a great way to do it. I think it's a really great exercise. There's a few tutorials out there already talking about it, so I won't go through about it in detail. So I'm going to jump through to another way that I really like to think about the wave principle. This one here. So first what we have to do, we have to make a pendulum, an upside down pendulum, and so it comes back and forth in an easing motion and in an arc. And now we're going to add another section. We're going to extend it a little bit, but this time we're not just going to add a section where it's just an extension. We're actually making it drag behind a little bit or a lot bit, up to you. Here it starts simple, the straight, when it drags behind, and it has a bit of easing as well. The top of this section keeps moving straight forward, even though this part has already moved this small. This is already a little bit of an exercise. If you can do this, that'll be great. What we can do, we can keep going, right? We add another section to it. Well, I'll show you what happens. It's a really interesting thing that happens. Continue moving down, add another section that drags behind even more, another section that drags down even more, another one, and then it's the wave principle. Without even thinking about the wave principle itself, we've inadvertently made the wave principle just using follow through and overlapping action, right? And we can even see this if we put in our little circles of force again. What it looks like is the force moving through and pushing this weird chain of colors in a wave-like motion. And so this is something that really helped me think about my wave principles. I think this is a little bit more applicable, but still, again, I'm not using one or the other. I'm actually using both of them at the same time. I'm making sure the forces, these circular forces, are actually looking like they're moving through the subject, right? I'm using both of them to check certain aspects of the wave principle, certain other ideas of the wave principle. Now we're going to try to get into a bit more of a practical demonstration. I'm going to try to do this real quick, and I'm going to go through later on more professional examples. So here we have a flag, we have a pole, and we have some wind. And this is just kind of indicating the direction of the wind, right? It's moving this way. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw the wind in, the force, as a little sphere. And then we have, again, the S shape here, the iconic S wave principle shape. Keep in mind, we don't actually need to keep this specific shape. I'll probably end up changing it later on, but we'll see about that. What's happening here already is that the wind is here, and it's going to push into this flag bit here that's jutting out. So what's going to happen is going to bunch up, and again, just like the wavy tail, right? Like this wavy tail, we have drag. So here this is a drag behind, you know, scrunching in because of the wind. You can see it already work. And this next frame, then the wind keeps on clumping up in here. This part is dragging again, right? This part goes this way, and so now the rest of this flag wants to come back in. All right, so we're clumping in, boom, 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 and then it gets pushed out this way. Again, the wind is still moving in here, clumping up, clumping up, clumping up, boom, boom, boom. And what happens here? This side of the flag is now going to start catching the wind again. So what we have to do, we have to curve it back around, right? Curve it around. This part is still getting caught by the wind, but this part has started curving around again because it's like, right? So we have another clump of wind here. Well, now it started affecting this side. Boom. Now this part of the wind has blown out. This part of the flag is affected again by the wind, and then we do the same thing we did on the other side. So all we need to do now is just loop it around. The wind moves forward, this comes in. Yeah, all right, let's play it. So just like that, we have the wave principle. Look at that. Now it's not the perfect thing, but hopefully this demonstrates a little bit more of the idea of the drag, right? The tip of it drags behind, but also the force and the subject, the relationship between the two. Now let's go through one of my animations, a couple of them, and see how I use the wave principle here. This is probably one of the biggest, one of the most wave principles I've used. And I use both processes to make each of the hair strands and so on. This big hair is probably the most obvious, right? You can think of it like here, right? It's a ball here and it moves down and gets bigger and bigger and finally moves out. You can see very simply how the wave principle works. But even in these little strands here, I'm doing the exact same thing. Wave principle, wave principle, wave principle, all the way everywhere. Look at that. Wave principle everywhere. I'm going to draw all over my work. You can see it even here. Look at this little KP here thing. Boom, boom, bah. And here as well, this small skirt is the same. Now this big skirt here is actually using the other method, the second method. This is something I learned from James Baxter actually, and when he did his Giselle animation on Enchanted. I don't know if he exactly did this, it's kind of my own interpretation of it, but he animated this part first, right? So what he did, he broke it down into sections. He would animate it like so, and it's just like the pendulum I'm animating, and so it comes up and around in arcs, right? Left and right, left and right. Then all I'm doing is I'm making sure that this drags behind, right here. Drags behind, right? This comes up, and this starts coming down. This section starts coming down, but this section is still coming up. Again, just like the wavy tail. Now this is coming down, and this starts coming up again, but this is still coming down, right? And so all I did was I just continued this. I continued this down like I'm dragging it behind, right? Dragging, follow through, arcs. It was really, really helpful to break it down like this for this specific piece of cloth. Afterwards, again, you get the wave principle. And compared to James Baxter stuff, this is quite simple. So I recommend you try this as well if you're animating. And so we can see how we don't actually need to make, pronounced S shape, right? Of course I have S shapes here, but what's happening is actually just through follow through and overlapping action, we get the indication of the wave principle. We don't need to very obviously draw in the wave principle and make the S shape and so on. We can use a combination of it, maybe use it a little bit more subtler, maybe use it very exaggerated. all in the same animation. Now I'm gonna go through another person's animation, Castlevania, and of course the most Sakuga looking shot there is. If I give it a play, well, first of all, it looks fantastic, but we can see the wave principle is all over the place. In fact, all these lines are all wave principles, right? Let's go through this first part here, right? You see this curve here. We can think of, again, the force. And all it does, right, is move up through the thing. It's so simple. Bum, 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 boom, right? And again, same thing happens here. Here we don't even need to draw this black, right? All we need to do is indicate that there's a force moving through, and it works so well, right? And it's all over the place. We can even see the hair here, right? A little circle. There's a big circle, and it goes up and out, right? Here again, boom, and out, right? Here's a small one, boom, 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 all over the place, all wave principles. And so now what is supposedly really abstract becomes really graceful and flowy, and again, all over the place. It's the entire thing is wave principle. And here's a flowing cape, a fantastic place to put a wave principle. Boom, cool, right? Big circle. And it's that simple. It's that simple. And here, right? Big cape here. S, big S. And then here's another section of it. Big S, right? This is like the circle here. Boom, boom, boom. Just like that. So simple. Now, he probably didn't actually draw in all these circles, right? All these circles, boom, 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 boom. He actually got used to drawing this wave, right? This wave, and then knowing how the next wave should move, right? Understanding that this force here needs to move down. And so aim with these exercises is to understand it so much that you don't even need to draw these circles. You don't need to think bit by bit. You just kind of draw the wave. And I think that's what a lot of people miss. They jump into drawing the wave first, and then they forget how it actually works. And so this next example is, again, so good. So what a beautiful looking hair motion, right? Here it is. Boom. Right, the force moves this way. Okay, so simple. We see the wave principle. Here we can see the drag, the tips of the hair drag behind. This part stops, moves, so it slows down. This part still moves fast, right? See how big this part moves, and then how small this part moves, right? Drag, follow through, we get the wave principle again. Hair is such a great way to use the wave principle. Look at that. What a beautiful looking hair with the power of beautiful drawings and shape design as well, right? But you can see how simple the animation here is regarding the wave principle. The hair, it looks so elegant as well, right? So hopefully this helps you. I use it all the time. I hope look through a lot of animations, right? Even simple looping animations, and try to find the wave principle and try to apply all sorts of different ways to use the principle, okay? Because here's the thing with this one, how much you actually make this drag behind can affect the look of the wave. How stiff this is, you might create a good wave again, or it might look totally different. I actually wasn't able to go through some other things regarding the wave, such as how you can make an arm do the wave, right? Now people can do the wave with arms and so on. So this isn't all there is. I hope you go explore, try out a bunch of new stuff, and most importantly, of course, have fun. If this helped, then leave a comment. I'm going to try to make more of these videos in the future. Hopefully it helps again. See yous!